horse drifted alarmingly in the betting was, Fensler in the morning continued to drift. He was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Buttons.
The ground is soft. It's
heavy.
It's soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
Hello, a massive warm welcome. It's the Bastard's Inquiry Sunday sermon, and us three stooges are back to discuss the week's events, hot topics, and of course any racing review from a rather fairly uneventful weekend. In fact, a fairly uneventful week. So good evening, John and Chris, my two partners in crime.
Hello, we're in good form. We're flying. We're living our best lives, as they say.
John, are you on fire? Are you ready for York this week?
I'm coming to you in association with Anusol, so you can tell it's on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get on to that in a minute. Just one thing, let's discuss a little bit of racing this weekend. The boring bit, as some of our listeners say.
Turn it in, will you? Who cares about that shit?
Put yourself on mute, you.
Yeah, well, I'm going to do that now, and I'll probably have a shit or a wank or something. I don't know. I can't decide.
The visions. Anyway, the visions. Just too much info.
It is.
So, John, yesterday we had the Hungerford at Newbury. That was the feature event. Satisfactory race?
It was a bit of a wallpaper in equine form, wasn't it, really?
Yeah.
What I call a so what race, really. I don't think the form had any impact on anything that's coming up.
No.
You didn't tell us anything about horses in that race that we didn't already know, I don't think.
That's fair to say. I mean, like you say, you could put between the first four if you back the fourth horse, Kikuli, you don't need to beat yourself up. It's got to be a nose, a short head and a neck.
Yeah.
And it was right bang there until the last sort of 25 yards or so.
I think Baldwin should beat himself up for not running it in the city of York, myself. But...
Yeah. You mean Harry Charlton?
Harry Charlton, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I can see why you think Balding, because Murphy were on it. Yeah, I know what you're saying, because obviously you sort of mentioned that on Patreon.
That was the most suitable target for it myself. But...
Looking at how it just lost a couple of places late on, maybe the flatter seven, the quicker, that rides quicker than you.
I think the fact that the bend in the seven at York would have suited it better. They get a breather in. And
after watching it, I certainly agree with you, but I also agree with you on the fact that there was nothing really to take from it for any sort of Group 1 races going forward or anything like that.
No.
Though what I will say, Tiber Fleur, I'm convinced, and I still remain convinced, who am I to tell the legendary trainer, the shirt, that he's messed up. But I don't just think this horse is a 7 furlong horse. I think it'll get further. Have you seen the breeding?
He hit the line hard, didn't he?
Well, look at the pedigree. The mother won over 7 furlongs at 2, which usually says they stay. By Caravaggio, which is, you're getting milers in general.
Yeah.
The dam was a half-sister to Poet's Word, a horse you know quite well.
Yeah.
In Shearer, which are 1.5 mile horses. I'm not saying that it wants 1.5 miles. I'm just saying that the shirt kept this at 6, and it seemed to be struggling for 2 at 6 for ages, and he kept running
I thought that, yeah.
Then they moved it up to 7, and lo and behold, it's starting to have a very good profile over 7 furlongs. It's only tried it 3 times. It's 2 from 3. Only times it's got beat is when it were sort of out the back in Audience's race at Glorious. And I just think if they step this up to the mile...
He's kind of messed up as he had timescales, hasn't he? Because isn't it the old Waterford Crystal Mile on Saturday next week at Goodwood?
Yeah, is that called the Supreme or something now?
The Celebration Mile?
Celebration Mile, that's it. Supreme's one.
I still think of it as the Waterford Crystal Mile from 70s and 80s.
Perfectly acceptable, mate. We all live in a time warp.
Yeah.
Especially when racing is concerned. It blanks out the dark days that we're currently in. You just have to think of the past. I think that's summed up. There's nothing more to say at Newbury. I'm not even going to talk about Al-Azi. Boring. Curragh. We saw a horse called Grosvenor Square win by 20 lengths in a very fast time. All the times were fast, though, that day. What I would say, though, is caution to the form. To be fair, he has got a rating of 112. Cautious to the form would be the second horse. It's not what you'd want to see in second, would it? Is it?
No. He's beat Jace, hasn't he, really? I wouldn't say he's enhanced his rating. And Aidan O'Brien is like playing 5 card draw with 12 cards in his hand, didn't he, as regards the ledger? So
Yeah.
It'd be silly to jump in anywhere at the minute with the Baltica coming up and plans very fluid.
Well, it's one of them, isn't it? If you don't see Ryan on it on the day, your 8-1 anti-post voucher, which is what he currently is, doesn't look that great all of a sudden because obviously whatever Ryan picks is going to go fav.
If he doesn't pick this is pacemaker anyway, isn't it? And it's Doncaster, so...
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, it doesn't appeal to either of us then as an anti-post.
I couldn't at this stage.
Over to La Francais and Duval, as the producer likes to pronounce it. Duval, yeah. She said,
oh
yeah. But, you're betting at Duval today.
Oh, wow.
She gave me it, Rod. I'll tell Anna. The pre-morning Group 1 2-year-old race, forgive me for saying this, and he's done nothing wrong. And Rashabar is a decent enough yardstick, you'd say, won an ordinary Coventry, but he just doesn't get me going, Whistle Jacket. I don't find him exciting at all.
Well, he's not.
He's like dead inside. I don't know.
First time he ran into a proper house, he got kicked out the way, didn't he?
Well, yeah, I mean, Baboosh, that is quite a good filly. Grr, Lions. The Irish hate me saying that. It's just a thing I've always done. Anyway, Whistle Jacket. So he's what he is. He's a good 2-year-old, a decent, hardy 2-year-old.
He's going to go the same way as River Tiber. He's going to be the guest at the party nobody wants next year.
Yeah.
Because, Whistle Jacket say, oh, fucking hell. I was going to sit next to him. Jesus.
Yeah. No invite to Bob Ogden's.
Oh, no chance. Not at all. Oh, shit, it's that this way, isn't it? I wonder if she's still doing them. might be better now without Bob.
Yeah, it might be. Arabian Dusk is a filly that you absolutely adore, but you think the trainer is someone that you don't really adore. Describe his placing of this filly.
Well, that's too good. It's like getting a monkey to play chess, isn't it? The last
a shit ape.
Well, yeah. the last run told you everything you needed to know, really. I mean, that she was ready for 7, wanted the chance in the race. So here we go off to Deauville and we front rank early on over 6.
Blowing her brains out, yeah.
Could you make it any harder for the filly? No, probably not.
I think it's a disgrace. Honestly, the placing is disgraceful.
This is 2 they've had, isn't it? 2 years on the spin.
Yeah. What's happened to Carla's way?
God alone knows. She's MIA, isn't she? I think
is she with Latifah?
She could be chained up next to her Arabian princess on a radiator somewhere.
Yeah, honestly, it is bad. And if listeners don't know, John, obviously has followed Carla's way, and he really liked this filly on debut. She finished well over 6.5 behind Twafiq. Then the next was 6 Furlong on July course, followed by a Group 2 win on the July course, which she did really well to do. But then obviously has bombed out here over the 6 at Deauville. Ground might have been a little bit on the tacky side for her. The fact that she's probably not been on ground it was running slow today there. I would say that's terrible placing because after debut, John.
I mean, she's taking Colts on as well.
Oh, yeah. I know. Again. Yeah, so you're taking her out of a sex group and you're still running her out of her comfort zone.
Yeah. I mean, that last win in the Cherry and all day long, that was telling you stick her away for the Rockfell.
Yeah.
Here we are, a couple of weeks later.
I wouldn't have gone for Rockfell, I'd have just gone Boots.
Yeah. Either or. Even Mayhill.
Yeah, Doncaster over 7, isn't it? Doncaster.
That's a mile mail.
Is it a mile mail?
Yeah. I wouldn't have been bothered about a mile, though. Both sides a mile.
Well, there you go. That's what we think, anyway, on the filly. Terrible placing from Monsieur Crisford. The nice filly of Gosden's Friendly Soul won the Alec Head, the Group 2.
Pull up the drawbridge.
Pull up the drawbridge. Of course, tipped on bar stewards. We're not daft. She looks a filly that I just think will get better and better. Kingman, out of an inch or mare, the mother in Clover, has been a fabulous broodmare. She's just bred absolute superstars.
Oh, yeah.
Herself, obviously, in-house breeding from Pull Up the Drawbridge. She was
There's a fair bit of stamina on the downside as well, isn't there? when you
Yes.
think what they're running this really at.
I think 10's a trip for now, but next year, if they bring her back, I would like to see her over a mile and a half, because I think she strikes me as a future Yorkshire Oaks type. I just think she's a work in progress still, because I still think she's fairly raw, to be honest. I thought that when she beat the nice one of Baldwin's at Newmarket and then bombed out in the Musidora, destroyed some decent opposition last time at Ascot and did the same again today. I won't say destroyed them, but it was a case of just turning up, I think, today, and she did that. So she's one to look forward to. I would definitely have her in mind next year in particular. I hope they don't go at well too often this year.
Well, he's not in the Sun Chariot and the Ark and the Champion Stakes.
Sun Chariot, I can go with that. If I'm Drawbridge, that's where I think I'd send her.
Yeah.
That more or less sums up the racing. Anything catch your eye, like at the weekend, John, for future?
Nothing outside of me notes, really.
No. Right, let's get on to fun stuff then.
We've got piles of it.
Absolutely. Piles of questions as well this week. Thank you, folks. You do make this show. I can't thank you enough for the kind of questions we get, which are some really funny, some really searching questions as well. But we refer to the old Farmer Giles, the Chalfonts, whatever you want to call them, Oisin Murphy's excuse, which of course he didn't have to give as it's medical information. He came out and said this week for missing a statutory test by the Drug and Alcohol Police, he said he had to go to hospital with regards to the old Farmer Giles. What are we making of this? Because that was, I'll not just single out Oisin, because it seemed, as the testers were busy this week, there were numerous jockeys, namely Jim Crowley, Harry Burns, Taylor Fisher, I've probably missed some out, that all turned the car around.
Well, I mean, what's the crack with these testers? Do they only work 2 weeks a year or what?
I know, it's kind of strange, isn't it? It's an odd thing, because given that we've had, I don't want to mention I've mentioned it, Gibbons Tylicki affair. I don't understand why they aren't tested us every meeting, really, or at least, I don't know, more often. But
it'll be cost, won't it? It will be a cost and resources thing, and they will do, I dare say, they call it random tests, but not all kind of that sort of activity is purely random. It'll be intelligence led. So they've had some information to suggest it might be worth testing certain jockeys on a certain day. But ultimately, the burden, I guess, of testing every jockey every day, every meeting, will be horrific. And I do have some knowledge of that sort of thing. And I know a lot of it's intelligence led. Now, I don't know what that intelligence is, but this sort of thing is rarely random. So, for instance, when you go back from, I don't know, holiday and you're pulled over, you're not pulled over because it's random. You're pulled over either because they've got specific intelligence that you might have something in your case that you shouldn't, or you fit a particular profile, a certain pattern of travel, which their intelligence analysis has shown, is indicative of, smuggling of something. So, no one is ever pulled over randomly when it comes to kind of piss tests or, or customs, all that sort of thing. So they might have had a tip that something might be not right. I don't know.
What sat uncomfy with me to start with? And look, I might be just like...
Well, it's sat uncomfy with fucking Oisin. He's got the piles, hasn't he?
He's got
can't sit down, allegedly.
Yeah, he got the Ashleys.
Yeah.
The thing that sat uncomfy with me was the media look and chat an hour after it was sort of announced, like on the BHA steward reports, that Oisin wasn't taking his rides due to the Ashleys, Chalfonts. There's so many names in there. It was their response. Chapman and Luck, both of them. In other media, like when Rio Ferdinand suddenly disappeared from Man United's training ground and just forgot that the drug testers were in, there was an absolute outcry by the media on that particular case. I'm not saying that any of these jockeys aren't excuses are legitimate, because I haven't got any evidence. But what I will say is that the media are extremely quick to defend them. Like, oh, no, there's nothing to see here. Nothing to see.
You'd like the press to actually behave like press, wouldn't you?
Well, that's what I thought the media was. That's why, I suppose, again, I'm answering the questions. That's why we exist, because we're the only ones to be the disgusting outliers that dare to say, well, this looks a bit sus, doesn't it?
The relationship between the media and the sports participants has always been far too close. A lot of these people, pundits, etc., and presenters, forget the fact that they're meant to be journalists. They're meant to hold the sports participants to account on behalf of the sports customers. And what they are actually is just one big club. They're related through marriage a lot of the time. They go on holidays together. So you're never going to get that kind of scrutiny that you would get with football or cricket or whatever, because racing's an ecosystem, isn't it? A lot of trainers' daughters are married to other trainers, jockeys, pundits, etc. And they are journalists a lot of the time in name only. And we bang this drum ad nauseum, haven't we? But they are often PR agents for the sport when they should actually be calling out bad behaviour or questionable behaviour when they see it, and they never seem to do it ever. And that's the crying shame that where they don't perform the task that you think that journalists should do.
How did it sit with you two? I'd like both your opinions on this. When then you saw a social media response demanding that people apologise to O'Sheen for the way he's been treated.
Who was asking for the apologies? I mean, I did see a furore develop.
Just random Twitter accounts popping up saying it's disgraceful that O'Sheen has to declare his... Well, he didn't have to. He chose to.
Well, he does because he's, in quotes, a public figure. He relies ultimately on the income derived from betting to fund the job he's doing. Yes, the owners pay him via the, Weatherby's, etc., etc. But ultimately, he's accountable to the customers of the sport in the same way as a footballer is. A footballer, sort of football scandals, etc. They're always having to justify themselves. They never turn around and say, "Well, fuck it, what's it got to do with you?" They apologise. I'm really sorry. I've let down my club. Not saying that O'Sheen Murphy's done anything wrong, but that mindset does not exist in racing as it exists in practically every other professional sport, and it is bizarre. It's really odd. And I don't know why. I don't know what John's view is, but I can't. I think it's deferential, isn't it, John? There's a sense that the sports participants are somehow higher up the pecking order than the people that pay to watch it or earn a living working in it. And so that, there's still a little bit of forelock tugging, isn't there, to jockeys, trainers, owners, etc., which doesn't exist in football.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. What I would suggest is a lot of this could have been avoided by the BHA taking a look at O'Sheen's medical records, franking the fact that he's had hemorrhoids, whatever, for however long, had ongoing treatment, so on and so forth, and they could have come out and said, look, nothing to say here, we've examined his medical records, we know this is above suspicion.
I listened to Chapman interviewing Jim Crowley, and my gut wasn't tingling with Jim as it was with O'Sheen. With O'Sheen, I were like,
they're pals, though, aren't they? I mean, O'Sheen Murphy and Matt Chapman, they're pals. I mean, you look, they are friends. He is defending his friend, and I think on this occasion, he's forgotten the fact that he's a journalist. He's ultimately accountable to the customers of the sport, isn't he? Rather than his pal. And I just thought it was not a great look for a professional sport. I'm not saying you should accuse him of anything, but pour the acid on, put his feet to the fire. Whatever metaphor you want to use, and challenge what looked to be a fairly flimsy excuse. Now, he may very well have, painful hemorrhoids, but look,
pouring the acid on's a bit of an extreme.
Well, that's a very unfortunate.
In that particular case,
But it would have fucking got rid of them, wouldn't it? Double quick. But my point is, lots of people go to work every day with hemorrhoids, don't they? Now, okay, very few of them ride horses professionally for a living, and so I don't know what the medical implications are, but it just doesn't look right. And, for a sport that's obsessed with the optics, what it looks like from the outside, here is a classic example of something that looks rotten, doesn't look right. So, challenge it, test it, obtain evidence to say, well, actually, he did, and there's nothing sinister here. Let's move on. But straight away, well, blah, 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 nothing to see here, move on. And that's just not a good look.
For my two penneth, why would you go to A&E, or I presume that's where he's gone, and queue up there when you could drive to the track and go and seek track doctor?
Yeah, totally. I mean, and look, knowing people as I do in the NHS, turning up at A&E for hemorrhoids, they'd laugh you out the fucking, that's equivalent to the old girl who goes to A&E because she swallowed a bit of toothpaste. That's not what A&E is for. A&E is for accidents and emergency cases, not for routine treatments that can be treated by a pharmacist or a doctor. It's not the right forum to treat that. And you don't have to be a doctor to know that. I've been to A&E because I've got painful hemorrhoids. Really? Come on. It's for accident emergency. And the optics look terrible. And that's my point. Not suggesting he's done anything wrong.
And again, we're not suggesting he's done something wrong, but when you've got previous, that adds more fuel to the fire. So I was bemused by Luck and Chapman. Both of them did it straight away. Nothing to see here. Let's move on. It's like, hang on a minute. That's a bit presumptuous. Were you there with him? Just because he's told you, or the PGA have seen that he has been to hospital and been for treatment for it, that doesn't mean to say there were other circumstances beyond that's something he's had to do to get out of.
We'll be able to get an official PGA line on this week.
Well, it's like everything. It's a waste of time, I suppose, talking about it because we can't prove it. And there's no evidence is key. And I'm sure the BHA, who are apparently inquiring into it, will either just draw a line under it.
We're having a pulled pork bap with the PGA this week, so...
Oh, good.
It's an odd thing, guys. I mean, look, their behaviour reminded me of PR agents rather than journalists. A PR agent like, Piers Pottinger or somebody like who used to own racehorses would come out, issue a statement, to try and sort of mitigate or manage the situation, manage the optics. And that's the role of somebody employed by the individual to do that, not by people who are right at the forefront of racing journalism. That's not their role. They're not there to protect the reputation. They're there to challenge questionable behaviour or odd behaviour of its participants. And it sucks, doesn't it, really?
Since the kilt did what he did with Lydia and didn't speak to Racing TV for about a year.
Wasn't it lovely, that?
They might be scared that the kilt's going to run them over on the plane, as they walk into the track,
run them over in his ice cream van or something like that.
Yeah, well, that might be happening in years to come. We should move on to a funny from Chris Pull. So he says, given the events with no strict relation to the past week, what's the most outlandish ever excuse for not attending something we didn't want to do or go to? I come up with a good one when I kept using the excuse when I worked at Ollerton Dogs and I was starter for the track. And when it was bad weather, I hated doing the trials before racing because it was pissing down or whatever. So I always used to say that the bus was late. And then I'd use that excuse so many times that I was called into the office, the main office. Terry Corden was the general manager there, or the track owner, I think. And he said, right, what's your excuse this time before I fire you? And I said, well, you're not going to believe this because it was inclement weather. Lightning struck bus.
That's genius.
And of course, days of no internet and things like that. I mean, you could literally say
you couldn't check it. You couldn't check it out. I mean, that's a cool comment. I don't have one, but I did work with a guy that came in one day at work and said the reason he wasn't in for the last 2 days is he went down to the West Country and got drinking with some locals in some back of beyond sort of pub, and ended up being kidnapped by a satanic coven and being attempted subject of a ritual sacrifice from which he escaped naked, and that's why he lost all his kind of wallet, etc., and that's why he couldn't come to work. That's the best he could come up with. Absolutely true, and he swore it was right. But it wasn't. That's the best he came up with. A sort of kidnapped by a witches coven in the West Country.
Good one. I like that one. That takes some beating. John, anything in your life?
Yes, I got invited. Well, it was when I was with Leanne, and we got invited to this social event, we'll call it, because I don't want to embarrass the person by naming them on here. They'll know who they are. There will be people listening who gain some capital out of knowing the fact that I didn't want to go to this particular deal. And at the time, I had a border collie. Now, everybody hated this dog because he was a bastard. He was a bastard. He was completely savage. He went for everybody. We used to have rolled up newspapers, fastened up with sellotape. They were like coshes. And they were all over the house. So if he came at you, you could grab one and brain.
Yeah.
It was that bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, he'd gone for Amy and bitter.
Oh, dear.
I said, I'm getting him put down. So, right. Well, then the man started working. There was this thing coming up I didn't want to go to. So I rang the person in question up. And I said, I can't come. And he said, oh, why? I said, well, you know that dog I've got that no bugger likes? I said, it's terrible, this. I said, somebody got in the garden last night and burnt the shed down. The dog's dead. And the police are involved because I think it's arson. So I'd had the dog put down in reality, but I told him a barefaced pack of lies that there was a big
set on
investigation going on about this fucking arson attack that never happened. And then when I had the shed taken down, I actually sprayed some Roundup on the grass where it was and set light to it, so in case he came round, there were scorch marks there. And that's attention to detail, folks.
Wow. I tell you what, we've got some stories between us. I never knew that one either. That's the first time I've heard that one. So that Border Collie, what a dog that is.
That was a bastard. Absolute bastard.
Did he ever bite Ginger Hitler?
Paths never crossed. He was so erratic. He used to do the wall of death if you live in the house in the front room. He did the wall of death round the living room. It was horrific, honestly. It was the worst dog I've had in my life.
Oh dear. So there you go, Chris Pull. Answers there. Another question just relating back to the old drug testing. Johnny 2 says, surely the answer to the testing problem is to take a saliva swab from everyone every day on entry to the weighing room and then just test 10 or 20% at random. Ushing, no one will know which day they will be actually tested. Tipping off the jocks when the test had arrived has been going on for years. I said something like, why would you arrive before first? Wouldn't you arrive just as they're going to post in first, John?
Well, I was going to put a post up this morning when I did the question for the show. I was going to say, which bar stewards do you think would pass a random test before broadcasting? And then I thought, well, it's fucking pointless because I don't think any of us would.
I'm 78% proof.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, fucking hell. No, I think I've probably failed several tests, actually. So that we haven't got enough paper. Fucking hell. Don't want to get...
I've got more chemicals in my body than I see,
Yeah, exactly. Well, you do live near Middlesbrough, don't you? They're pumping all that green gas out. Fuck, it travels miles, doesn't it? So
take what Chris said earlier about resources and cost. Yeah. We know the BHA are skint because if you see their accounts, the cash that goes in and out, there's hardly anything left.
Couldn't you just get an old bloke in a high-vis jacket, tell them to walk on this line and see if you can wobble on that?
Thing is, though, if you're driving to tracks, you can't be turning up piss, can you, mate?
We've got plenty of them old blokes in high-vis jackets. They'll have about 186 of them on the car park next week. They could grab one of them and say, this is your new job. There's a white line on the floor and you make the jockeys heel and toe along the full end of the white line.
Whatever it is, it's never satisfactory the way that racing is run in this country. So we'll move on. Subject, Stephen Thomas has been on. And he says, what's your view on the big four Irish jump trainers threatening legal action against the IHRB? She agreed, or was it a daft idea in the first place? That, of course, for listeners, if you haven't known, that Irish are to introduce racers that, I don't know what criteria they're using, but trainers that have probably trained less than so many winners or whatever, I don't know. But that's what they're trying to put in place. John, what's your views on this?
Daft idea, fucking stupid. Yeah. It's restraint of trade. You're going to find eventually there'll be somebody right on the cusp. They're probably in 5th place in the championship. They make an entry at the 4-day stage. They had a big winner in between and they go 4th. Then they can't run.
Yeah.
It's a load of balls. And the right to take them to court if they do proceed with it.
Chris?
Sort of above my pay grade, so I'll defer to John on that. But anything that looks to restrain someone's ability to, to trade or make money, it's never a good idea to do that, and they're always doomed to fail. I think it's a stupid idea based on my understanding of it.
I'm in agreement with both of you. I like to disagree sometimes because I don't want it to be an echo chamber, but to be honest, if trainers will always find a way around things when you bring in restrictions. For example, when they talked about the Grand National and a certain trainer, you can only have so many runners in it, or an owner can, they'll just slap it into another owner's name, they'll slap it into another trainer's name 3 months before race. There's just ways and means of doing things, and if you make trainers have to do that, then they'll do it. It's the same as any loophole. It's like when Ryanair introduced luggage restrictions, people find way around it.
It's making it a race to the bottom as well, Lee. These trainers that are just below the top echelons, they want to beat the people in the top echelons. They don't want to say, I've had 4 winners last week. Are we up against? A load of dickheads like me.
Let's be fair, if you haven't got the ammo to take on Willie and Gordon and all the bigwigs, you find races and meetings where they aren't turning up with the big guns or their A-graders.
They don't win every race.
No, it's wily planning. We need a target for this horse, but it's no good going to the Currow, it's no good going to Fairy House, or it's no good going to Puncher's Town for this race because Willie targets it, Gordon targets it. Let's go for this one at Clonmel because Willie usually sends his 3rd division yak. That's all it is, isn't it? It's just planning around what you've got and where to run your horses rather than taking on, trying to think you're going to win grade 1s at Puncher's Town and Fairy House against tackle. It's just that's how it is. We're all on the same hymn sheet there. What happened with Meg Nichols at the weekend? I weren't watching. Meg Nichols has apparently set the trend. Navalis has been on. Are we to expect any surprise freestyle rap sessions on tonight's show?
Oh, God.
What happened, John? Did you see it?
I have no fucking idea what he's talking about.
I saw it on advertised on ITV, and they said, "Oh, Megan's going to do a rap later or something." I think you replied to it, Chris.
I did. I mean, I said something like, this is, the program is designed to showcase and, show top level sport, not provide a platform for, a meagerly talented recipient of the rampant nepotism that exists in racing. It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd, and it's cultural appropriation as well. So it's not a good look. But apart from the fact whether it's a good look or not, or whether she's good at rapping, nobody cares. People tune in to watch horses on which they have had a bet. I know Ed Chambers says, well, the viewing figures, the curve is vertical and it must work. But there's only so much of that sort of stuff that's going to work unless people are encouraged to bet on it. It will not survive. And all this other stuff, like Luke Harvey running around, 10 questions.
Here's a question, Chris, right?
Yeah.
If ITV Racing logged viewing figures of 15 million, but betting turnover stayed exactly where it was, is it a success?
By their metric, it is. It's a success, but ultimately, the 15 million people, if they are not betting, it's irrelevant. The only people that benefit from that are the advertisers, in the commercial breaks, lots of eyes on the products, etc. But ultimately, it's irrelevant. And that's my point. And, apart from the fact that Meg Nichols' rapping is neither here nor there, it's just stupid, isn't it? It's dumbing down the product. It's reducing the product to something that's a bit silly, presented by silly people. It's all a bit of fun, a few posh people, horses running around the field, etc. It's not treated with the reverence or the deference I think the sport deserves. This is a multi-billion-dollar global industry that provides employment for hundreds of thousands of people in Ireland, Europe, Great Britain, America, etc., etc. Treat it with some fucking deference. Be serious. If you want to be treated seriously, act seriously. And I don't care because clearly none of us act serious because we're not looking for respect or plaudits, etc. But the bottom line is, it's just not good. I just think it's trivialising things. What a misery, sorry, it was only a fucking rap. Come on, man. What a misery.
You can hear people that go, you miserable old bastard.
It was just a 10-second segment, and he's like a 30-second rant on some poor young girl just trying to earn a crust. And he's just
I wish I'd heard it. I'd like to have heard Megan rap.
Yeah, I've not seen it myself. So
it's just the whole trivialisation of the sport. We spoke about Harvey last week, didn't we? Running around and this and racing league. It's just all detracting from the core product because nobody wants to have talk about betting. Betting is the sort of the aristocratic cousin that lives in the attic that nobody talks about. Right, that's what it is, But the trouble is, the aristocratic lunatic cousin that lives in the attic pays for the fucking whole show. And that's the crying shame, and it just really depresses me when you see this kind of rubbish.
Right, let's talk about betting then. As
yeah,
we've just said,
that's boring and all. Yeah,
betting. No, it's not boring. No. Barry Hearn
trying to do a little joke, they're lighting it up. You see, what a miserable bastard you are. Honestly,
yeah, it's because the producer hadn't topped me up on gin, so it's like it's not going very well when that happens. Barry Hearn appeared on Star Sports podcast this week. His suggestion of a betting tax for punters, which is mentioned before, and of course, us ourselves have also mentioned punters should contribute in some form to racing in terms of percentage out of their winning bets. Of course, it was done back in the day. You used to pay betting tax before some that listen to this show won't ever have known that. But yes, you did. You paid between sort of 7 and 10%, whatever your bookmaker was. And that, of course, went towards levy payments to fund the sport. So Barry Hearn is not outlandish for suggesting this. Punters that are against this are morons, because what racing needs to do is to get away from Big Corp. And the only way it can do that is to put the two fingers up to Big Corp and have enough money in the till to fund itself. That way, the game can be run properly without these bookmakers getting their fingers in the pie, meddling and messing with the game, prize money at low levels. Now, I'm not saying the 2% on winnings online is going to be enough money to run the sport. What I'm saying is it's a start where it helps bookmakers reduce their costs to racing, which they pay a substantial amount to be able to operate, which is why they get rid of punters that have got online accounts and aren't necessarily making much money, but they'll still get rid of them because they aren't profitable. It will help punters thrive and last longer because bookmakers aren't so quick to ban them. View it as an ecosystem. It isn't just about the bookmakers should pay. It's all about a big ecosystem. And we want less interference from bookmakers, not more of it. So it's a good thing, guys, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. We've tried everything else. Well, not we. The sport has tried everything else. This seems to be the only way we can put some clear blue water between, the customer and Big Corp that's got its tentacles everywhere. Ultimately, there's no other way. You can't unpick what you've
The will
got
has
now.
to be there at the top, doesn't it, to
Yeah.
put low water between us and Big Corp. At the
Yes.
minute, you get the distinct impression that those at the top are quite happy to go waltzing down the road with Big Corp arm in arm.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. But look, they're not going to set up a BHA type betting exchange, which I still think is an excellent idea. It's a big idea. It's a really big idea, and that's a bold move. But short of racing having its own betting exchange, why not pay some on winnings? There you go. How much that will bring in, don't know, but it's a start, isn't it?
Yeah, I certainly think the 2% on online winnings would help bookmakers as well if they're not being disingenuous and would give punters more of a chance to stay alive with their accounts. Then it has to be a good thing for the sport and encouraging people that you're coming into this sport not just to give money to the bookmakers, you're coming into this sport to try and win. And that's what we need to encourage. When that's gone, I'm afraid we're all gone. And that's the way it's heading, unless there is change. And for me, Barry Hearn is 100% correct on this. And I'll stand by it. I said it years ago that it needs to come back in because we need distance from these vermin. And I'm not referring independents necessarily as vermin, just mainly the Big Corp that have absolutely destroyed the game. Staying on betting, I've been contacted by a few people this week, one in particular upset with bookmakers sort of banning them, and for a bet that was placed at sort of 2-1 when it was 10-11 everywhere else. When you think about it, does that bookmaker have a point, or is it the bookmaker's fault? How do you view this, Chris, in particular? What do you think?
In law, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, and my extent of my legal knowledge is sort of grade B, General Principles of English Law, O level, 1986. But my understanding is, when something is priced up, be it, in this case, a horse racing event or a sporting event, it's no different from, you used to get in the used car lots where you still do the stickers on the car, and you walk past and you see a vehicle that should be 3,000 quid, but one of the zeros has fallen off and it's showing 300 quid. You have no legal right to claim that vehicle is being offered at 300 quid, and ergo, the vendor must accept it. A price is a treat. It's called a treat in quotes, and it's an offer to make a bid on that service. So if there's a sort of a palpable error, or the bookmaker hasn't changed their odds in time, there is no obligation for them to accept that bet if it's due to effectively an error or an administrative error on their part. So I've got kind of limited sympathy when it's quite clearly they haven't updated their odds, etc. I mean, I get it. It's disappointing, but it's very thin ice when you're kind of relying on that sort of thing, because it's a treat. They don't have to take your offer. It's an invitation to make an offer, and that's no different with odds, I think.
Yeah, what I would advise punters to do in the modern era is to be extremely cautious on how they operate their account, because if you're taking the Michael, then it's no good moaning. I've signed up with them. I've lasted 4 bets. Well, it depends what your bets are. if your bets are 7-2 into 5-4, 5-1 into 9-4, whether they win or not, you're going. And so you have to be a bit coy. You have to be a bit clever these days and trick the algorithms that the bookmakers have and place a few silly bets like bet builders and crap like that, and just plays crap and shit. I've tried it, and I have managed to last a while sometimes. Don't try it much these days, but can make it last 6 months or so before they eventually say bye-bye.
They're not there to be picked off. I mean, there's a mindset that sort of exists with punters that, that bookmakers, if they offer a price, you should be able to get what you want on it. And if they're not prepared to lay a bet, a lumpy bet, they shouldn't offer that price. Well, that's right. That's, a good theory in fairyland. But these organisations exist to extract money from punters, and you're right, you will get a few winners, but you will be shut down. So I think punters have got to be realistic. You've got to give the bookmaker a chance to win something back. If your edge is so significant, they will pick that up very, very quickly. And so, I think that kind of really crude kind of thinking that, that says, oh, I should be able to have what I want on. And if they don't want to lay, they're cowards. Yes, they are. They are run by accountants in the main. And, some of the restrictions are ludicrous. But, punters don't help themselves, I don't think. I saw a tweet yonks ago where someone said, look, what a disgrace. I don't know. I think it was Coral or something. He couldn't get $5,000 on a dog in the first race at fucking Henlow on a night meet. Well, duh. Someone comes in on a Tuesday and wants to have $5,000 on a fucking A10. Chances are he knows something that the bookmaker doesn't. And a prudent bookmaker is not going to say, well, I'll take that because I've got a moral obligation. They're going to say, fuck you. You know something. So, there isn't much kind of realism amongst a lot of punters these days. And I think it tends to be newcomers to the sport. People like us know how the game works, and we know that it is a battle between punter and bookmaker, and you've got to be a bit cute, mix it up a bit, play some slots, play bingo or whatever, etc. To small money. As long as you show overall that you're a winner, that's good, and you can keep the account going, great. But if you just want to play hot stuff, of course you're going to last 5 seconds. Why wouldn't you? Bottom line is, I'd turn it around on them. If they set up a bookmaker, got a skin or whatever, or a platform, would they take that business, unlimited business on warm dogs on a Tuesday night? Would they bollocks? Well, if they did, they'd last 5 seconds themselves. They'd go skin. So, come on, be reasonable.
Agreed. We move on to Jordan Lynch, who has outed Matthew Gaskell, who is going to be the head of the applied gambling psychologist when all this bollocks comes through. Right. So Jordan Lynch has uncovered a naughty that Matthew Gaskell has pulled. Obviously, Matthew Gaskell's wife works for Gambling with Lives, and Gambling with Lives sneakily used her maiden name rather than the married name.
Mm-hmm.
And on Matthew Gaskell's declaration form to Leeds and York Partnership NH Foundation Trust, it said, I have no interest to declare for the period leading up to the above, which is 13th of the 6th, 2023, right? So a conflict of interest, in other words. So I confirm I have no conflicts of interest. How can he not have a conflict of interest when his wife is working with Gambling with Lives? So he's lied on his application. He's been threatening Jordan Lynch to take posts down, this and the other. I mean, it's like that. It's a Wall Street movie, isn't it, Chris and John? It's money makes you do things you don't want to do.
Oh, yeah.
The application of cash here has blinded Matthew Gaskell, clearly, because that's all he's bothered about, clearly on this, because it's just bent. If you've got a conflict of interest, you shouldn't be in that job. There you go. It's wrong, and there's probably not much more to add on that, but it just shows you how bent all this shit show is. An agenda in and gap. Where is Andrew Rhodes? He's quiet as hell. I mean, where are you, Andrew Rhodes? Coming up to 31st of August when you're supposed to lower these limits for everyone before they have to be checked. Where have you gone? We move on from that to a lighter note. Sean Clifford's been on, and he said there was a discussion months ago on a sermon about gambling movies, favourite betting movies. He would like listeners to go and watch Man About Dog. It's a classic Irish movie with the dogs gambling as main theme, and it's on YouTube. 6 15-minute videos. Obviously, I haven't watched it, so I can't discuss it. I don't know if any of you two have.
No.
Oh, we will now.
I reckon that's worth a watch. If it's about dogs and gambling from back in the day, then I reckon that's got to be worth a watch. 6 15-minute videos on YouTube, you can find it. That's Man About Dog.
You want Racing League exclusive?
Oh, of course, yeah, John, you mentioned it. Lord Hugo and the Racing League. Is this an exclusive?
It is. It's very exclusive. It's not been in the papers at any rate.
Clarkson, go for it.
Well, apparently Lord Hugo Palmer disgraced himself a couple of weeks ago. He's on Mickey Quinn's team and wanted to run one, but Mickey had two others picked in front of him. So his lordship basically said, fuck you, I'm declaring anyway. I'm higher in the ballot, so I'll get to run. What a team player, eh? So at the time, Racing League had the ability to ring the BHA and undeclare horses, as sometimes the team might end up with 3 declarations in a race by mistake.
Fucking hell. Wow.
So Quinn's rang the BHA, told them what happened, and they organised for Lord Palmer's horse to be undeclared.
Oh my God.
Hugo's got absolutely tonto. Lodge complaints with the BHA and the National Traders Federation. And as a consequence, the team managers now have to honour the ballot. If 3 get declared for a team by mistake, which already caused massive fuck up for one team at Windsor, the ballot has to come in. It doesn't sound like Lord Hugo's the best at hearing the word no, does it?
Wow. That is a bombshell. No, and like, to be fair, if he's paying bills and he says, no, I'm running,
yeah,
and it's a legible horse, absolutely, honestly.
I mean, you could, in theory, you could have your horse taken out by a celebrity manager that was on Love Island.
Pretty much.
I think Lord Hugo's acted and got that dealt with now.
Yeah. What a concept, eh? I mean, Luke Tucker's been on, he says, odds on Racing League carrying on next year.
I think it'll carry on.
Where is the cash? Where's it coming from?
Paul Daniels.
And Debbie McGee.
Yeah.
Somebody's got a magic top hat, haven't they?
Teddy Beckett's magic carpet. Yeah, exactly.
The sponsors from the original concept have mysteriously vanished, haven't they? Each team had a sponsor that we'd never heard of. They've all gone. So, don't know what happened there.
Yes, it's not as I said on previous shows, not a concept I can get behind. It's just not for me. Fair enough. It's your Barrow. Good luck to you. It's not for me. Right, funnies. Nick Davis, recommend an unusual breakfast you personally like. It might not be unusual to some, but I love it when I go to US because, like, there's corned beef hash on menus.
Yeah, that's the tip, isn't it?
I love corned beef hash. You don't see it much in.
But let's be fair, it's proper corned beef over there. No, it's in the Princes, is it?
No, it's good stuff. So that's what I enjoy. So you don't see it in this country, but so if that's unusual to some, that's what I go for. I don't mind a kipper now and again and all.
Yeah,
but that's not really unusual, I suppose. But yeah,
I had the other morning. I had a packet of Aldi white chocolate cookies and a can of Red Bull, and and about 6:30 in the morning that was. So and I was high as a kite for about an hour. Then afterwards, I thought I could need to sleep now by about 8 o'clock. So yeah, I'm not a breakfast person, but the shit I normally eat is just not breakfast food. I've had bars of chocolate, Red Bull, fucking tin of Monster, a Scotch egg I had the other morning as well, and a slice of ham wrapped in Emmental cheese with a fruit shoot. So about that.
I'm loving this, John.
My favourite breakfast that some people would describe as unusual would be a banana omelette.
Bloody hell.
A what?
Banana omelette?
Yeah. You slice up the banana, melt some butter in a frying pan, sling the banana in, sprinkle with sugar, get it nice and caramelised, then beat the hell out of 4 or 5 eggs, whack them in, glaze it under the grill with a bit more sugar sprinkled on. It's absolutely delicious.
Yeah. Interesting. Producer saying no.
No.
Well, she obviously doesn't like bananas then.
Well, no,
she loves
egg with sugar in. I suppose that's the problem I've got.
I suppose. Well, wouldn't you eat a custard tart? That's egg with sugar in.
You absolutely would, wouldn't you? And a creme brulee is not a million miles away from that. And that. So yeah, I think people think in your mind you think omelette, sort of, sausage and bacon and cheese on it. Okay.
But honest to God, this works.
Okay.
No. Move on.
Fish. If you chucked a fish finger or two in, yeah, maybe, but not.
Yeah.
Yeah, a dozen fish fingers. Yeah, get them on a sandwich. Absolutely.
That's not a full portion, don't forget.
20, maybe.
Yeah. 30's a portion, I've told you.
Oh, God.
I could see you blasting 30 fish fingers.
30 fish fingers is the same size as a large cod.
Yeah, you said that, didn't you? And that sort of works, doesn't it? If you got all the fish out of it, I suppose it would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Listeners, could you do 30 fish fingers? John certainly can.
If you couldn't, you should be in prison.
And talking about prison, Doncaster Bert's been on. He said, "How well would you survive in prison, John?"
Oh, God.
Well, I'd be all right. I'd worry about you two because you're good-looking lads, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, the big nasty
our
black
asses would be
lads
like
would think the
flapping
buffet
fans.
was open when you hit the showers. I'd be all right.
I'd be like him in Train Spotting, that he sort of gets locked up and he's having cold turkey from heroin.
Oh, yeah.
I'd be like that from alcohol. I'd be having checks and all sorts.
I'd help the big boys with their appeals, so they'd look after me. I'd say, I'll help you with your appeal because you can't read or write. So I reckon I could buy myself a year of getting raped before I'm raped. Anyone who wants my ass is fucking good. Go for it. Well, I wouldn't even go for it. Christ, Jesus. Oh, God, be horrific.
Anthony Ryan says, if you could dig one person up and have them as a guest on your show, who would it be?
Oh, I think Dorothy Paget.
Yeah, good call. I know, it's cool.
What I'd do, I'd get her on side with treats like a whole bowl of trifle and lesbian prostitutes and stuff.
Yeah,
and then once she's nicely on side, I'd ask her if I could use a betting account for a week.
Yeah, when she used to ring up after it race. Yeah, she didn't know the result.
I'd only need a week, like.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd have Lord Lucan and ask him where he's been.
Yeah. I was going to say Charles Benson and say, "Come on, Charlie, you must know what happened to Lucky. Tell us." Yeah, because he'd know. So I'd somebody like that. I think would be quite interesting.
Magic listens, Lord Lucan on show, right? Legit.
Yeah, we could have anyone on and say it's Lord Lucan. They wouldn't fucking know.
78 million listens on YouTube.
Yeah,
anyway.
Exactly. Exclusive. Lord Lucan pops in for a chat. He'll come back and say, "No, for cute at that fucking corner shop," which only went out for some fags.
Yeah. As always, Samuel the cat has the last say on this year. He's a resident cat now. He says the Chinese have done it again. He says they've created a potion that makes you invisible and through thought alone can send you anywhere fast, so you can go anywhere. If you've took the potion, which racing people now or through history would you go to find out secrets or just to move stuff around to piss them off, etc.?
Jesus. That's a great question, isn't it? I mean, the obvious one is for racing, you'd say Barney Curley, wouldn't you? You'd hide in JP's office, wouldn't you? You know what all the plots were. So that would be the racing one. I mean, but generally, I'd want to hide in the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders changing room, and I'd never fucking leave. Honestly, I'd be hiding in the showers there for months. I wouldn't eat, wouldn't drink, because I think that would be a tremendous use of a sacred power.
Oh, disgraceful!
You've
disgraced yourself, John. Would Mick Easterby be something?
Absolutely not. I've no wish to visit Mick Easterby, visible or invisible.
I just thought to send him mental, moving things around and things.
Well, I do like the idea of sending somebody mental, and that's why I picked on our old friend Admiral Rouse when he was working night and day on his weight for age scale. And I'd wait till he'd nearly got everything straight and sorted, and then I'd keep altering his numbers.
That's absolute shithouser, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Producer keeps like some good spreadsheets for me and that, and I know like if you like messed her numbers up after like she'd go berserk, and I mean berserk. It sounds daft, but if I were invisible, I'd actually the producer, because
oh my God,
it'd send her absolutely bonkers.
God,
she'd wonder where you'd gone.
She would notice. There'd be if another fella moved in, wouldn't there, if she's got any sense, honestly.
Yeah.
Poor old Lee, where's he gone? Oh, well, never mind, honestly. Yeah. It's like my wife says, if I ever had that locked-in syndrome, if I ever tried to blow my brains out and missed, where you're sitting there like you can't communicate, she'd have fellas round there and fuck them in front of me, and just for the pleasure of me going, oh, poor old bastard, he doesn't know what's going on, but you're like fully compos mentis. Yeah, that's my nightmare. Fucking soppy old bastard. Yeah, that's my greatest fear anyway.
On the floor here. God.
Another podcast goes there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not really. Gone from French racing at Deval to Chris's worst fears about his wife getting rogered. But
Yeah, a train being run as I'm move his wheelchair. Poor old, he can't move it himself. Like, so I'm moving to one side. He doesn't know what's going on. Poor old sod. Yeah, that would be awful. Locked in syndrome or something. Whatever it's called.
Christ. On that footing, I think it's a good time to end the show. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have, as always. Thank you for your brilliant questions. And hopefully we'll have more going on in racing.
Subscribing for Tuesday.
Absolutely, yes. Don't forget, subscribe on Tuesday for Tuesday's Patreon. Your keyboard preview, same for Friday. Join our Bar Stewards Edge or Early Bird service as well, because it's absolutely on fire. It's a must. And you're dealing with professionals here. We do it for a living. Why aren't you subscribing? Get it done. That's all from us. Hope you enjoyed. Bye for now.